Hey, you guys, welcome back to the channel where we review anything and everything. And today we have a new dinosaur review. This is from the Hammond collection, the Jurassic Park 30th anniversary Metriacanthosaurus. Now, this dinosaur was simply one, and I'll just show you from the backside of the box. He was one of the dinosaurs that were just had his embryos, the frozen embryos, in the first movie. So you actually didn't see him as an actual, dinosaur, but physical running around. But nonetheless, it's actually great that Mattel is actually introducing other dinosaurs that, even if you didn't see them in there, but just giving collectors extra dinosaurs to have inside their collection, especially from the Hammond line, since the Hammond line seems to be evolving, play on words, evolving faster than their main line. So what's interesting about it is that you can see the minor corrections that they keep doing with this line. This line is evolving very fast, where I've noticed from various T-Rexes, and if you look at some of the past videos on my channel as far as some of the T-Rexes, how it took years before certain things on them would start evolving or getting better or whatever the case is. Whereas the Hammond collection has been evolving very fast since the time they released the T-Rex, the Hammond collection T-Rex. It had big feet. They had issues with the eyes. They corrected the eyes on it, make a remake or a second printing of it, if you will, with better eyes. But it also, the whole line has been getting smaller, better proportionate feet. They've been all getting rubber teeth now for some of the smaller ones that haven't had it. I'm not sure if this one has it, rubber teeth, but I know the Carnotaurus, which you see over there in the background, does. So this one came out before the Carnotaurus. So yes, the line has definitely been evolving, and that's actually been a very good thing. Reading the details here, says after shutting down Jurassic Park's security system, Dennis Nedry makes his way to the cold storage room and secretly steals the embryos of the Metriacanthosaurus as well as other dinosaur species. So here you could see some of the box art on the side over there, and then some basic branding on that side. It's very interesting to me, as I made note before, that all of these normally have a picture from the movie reference, and the Carnotaurus did not have a photo of the movie reference, just the text. And as I mentioned before, I think the reason why was because of his arms. I'm blaming it on his arms. But anyway, so let's get into this. Hopefully this won't be too hard for me to get into. And if I need to end up pausing the video, I will, just so we could jump into this quick. I was grabbing it from the wrong area. The whole internal box part doesn't come out like that. So here we go. This is the figure. Now we're going to get into measurements like always, but obviously for anyone who's familiar with this channel, you would know that I'm very big on scale and size, and things being as accurate as possible within the scale that they are to the size of how like a dinosaur should or would be. So with that being said, just so you guys know the scaling that I go off of, and I came up with this number based on, make sure I get all these pieces cut out. My scaling, I based it on and we're going to end up using a Roland here for scale, but I scale it on these 3 3/4 inch figures, estimating to be a 6 foot person. Now, granted, not all of them on it are 6 feet or whatever the case is, but nonetheless, whenever you see like a dinosaur kind of like diagram or something, it normally shows a 6 foot man next to it. So that was just an easy way of just simplifying where I come up with my measurement for scale. And that scale multiplier, if you will, is 19.2. So you take the measurements of the dinosaur, you multiply it by 19.2, you come up with a number, and then you divide that by 12 to have what the scale is of that dinosaur's actual, length or measurements. Let's see. Get these joints standing the way that he should, or something that looks a little more normal, because right now I've got him in a strange pose. Okay, let's see. There we go. Got the tail in. Tail is nice. All these tails have a real feel aspect to them because they are rubber, which is always good. Got him standing straight right now, and I'm having trouble bending his. There we go. It's very stiff. And I guess that could be a good thing if we wanted to maintain the stiffness in our character's joints. I want to have him have a more natural pose because I don't want him to be standing in a way where it just looks very awkward for his size and whatnot. Now, here we go. Some pose here. Let's see. Yep. So the teeth are rubber, and you know what's funny is the teeth actually look a lot more smaller and a more normal proportionate size than what they actually excuse me, than that what they look like on the box. On the box they look bigger to me. I don't know why. In here they look like a better, more proportionate size. So who knows? Maybe it's just the way it looks when things are on camera or photographed, but in person they look very good. So here he goes. We're going to get rolling next to him. Now, granted, I have him, his joints and everything. He's kind of standing up a little bit. Let me give him a little more leveled out if I can. So he's not so upright with his legs. But generally speaking, that's more of like a normal pose for a dinosaur like this. He has articulation in the neck. He's got 2 articulation points inside the neck, this here and that there. Obviously, you guys know who watch this channel that I'm a stickler for joints getting loose, so I'm not going to move him all around that much. He's got a shoulder joint and an elbow joint. And obviously, he has his one tail area joint there, and he's got his knees, his ankles, and his toe joints. Let me get the measurement, the tape measure, and we're going to measure him out. Okay, so one thing just to make note of is that the actual size of what this dinosaur is supposed to be is, from what I looked up online, about 6 feet tall. Which here you see he's a little bit taller than 6 feet. But even though I could pose him to be a little bit shorter, but nonetheless, he is. From this angle, you can't see it that well, but the top of his head is about rounded off about 2 inches taller than Roland here, but like his body is about maybe an inch and a half over Roland. So while he's supposed to be 6 feet tall, what they say, he's a little bit taller than that here, which is fine to me in terms of just depicting the dinosaur. But the length that they give him, which is funny, it's comparable to the Carnotaurus, which is funny because the Carnotaurus is supposed to be about 26 to 28 feet long. It says Metriacanthosaurus is supposed to be 26 feet long. So he's not very tall, but it's supposed to be very long. He obviously is not going to be that long here, as long as Carnotaurus is. But we're looking at here about 12 and a half inches. And as far as the height goes, it depends on where you want to take the height from. If you take it from the hip, he is, I want to say, about 4.5 inches, right at that like top of the hip point. So we're gonna go with that, even though the head is a little bit higher. We're gonna go for the base of the hip. Obviously, most of the time that's where we measure from. I think that's the proper area to measure because obviously they can elevate their heads, but generally speaking, their top of the hip is normally a stable height. So we're looking at 4.5 and 12.5. So let's calculate those measurements in real time. So his length is, oh, we've got 20 feet, which is still not bad. You know, it's still definitely it's within proportion to his size. So, maybe he's just one of those dinosaurs that are just really long, but he still looks very nice as far as the way the figure looks. And then as far as his height, 12.5 inches. We have 7.2 feet. So he's a pretty nice estimate of what he should be. He's not very far off. He's a little taller, but at the same time too, he's a little less in length, but nonetheless it still fits very well. And as I mentioned in the previous video, you can go to check back on that, the Carnotaurus actually fit his measurements very well also, because as he's supposed to be, I think it's around 11 feet tall, and he fit that well. I don't remember what the measurements were on that, so you could check back on the old video. And his length went within the range of, I think it was like 28 feet for the figure. So he falls directly in line what he's supposed to. The only difference with this figure is he would be, and they did make him look very long, but apparently he would be a little bit long in real life, a little bit longer, and maybe a little bit shorter. But nonetheless, this seems very nice. Um, Rolling out the way for a little bit. Now, for those who may not know, this figure, he gets his name, which is a similar name to Acrocanthosaurus, another famous larger dinosaur that's probably more comparable to a T-Rex size or close to it. That Canthosaurus aspect, I guess, is pertaining to the hump on his back. So he's got a little bit of a hump on his back, not drastic. And I guess you could kind of say that's there if you use your imagination, but it's supposed to be more pronounced than they say, like something like an Allosaurus, and less pronounced than an Acrocanthosaurus. So, but that's where it gets its name from. And I think the figure actually looks very nice. Definitely has a very big head for the size of its body. And I'm not sure if that is how it would be, but it's still smaller head than the Carnotaurus. So I definitely will say that. I'll put them next to each other. And of course, Roland gets knocked over. Yeah, try to get them both fully onto the screen. So you can see it's definitely a nice size difference for the two of them. Um, the length of Metriacanthosaurus's head is almost as, or is about as long from the tip of its snout to the back of its jaw. And obviously, Carnotaurus has a very short nose type of face for the type of head that he has versus other meat eating dinosaurs. But um yeah, that's it's still overall like a bigger head than Metriacanthosaurus head. So I guess the proportions on it kind of lines up pretty well. The teeth on the Metriacanthosaurus, though they are rubber, like a rubber like material or rubber if they are, but it's not as fine in terms of the sharpness and being as small as the Carnotaurus is. So obviously, Carnotaurus came out later. They improved his teeth a little bit better. I don't think that's a thing of where Metriacanthosaurus naturally has bigger teeth, but small improvements. Not to say Metriacanthosaurus is bad in any way, but you can see the small improvements over time. As I definitely think that the Carnotaurus is one of the best figures around. Link is going to be in the description to purchase this on Amazon, affiliated link. And I will end up doing a versus battle between these two. Um, take Carnotaurus off the screen. Sorry about that. Taking Carnotaurus off the scene for a moment. So I think this figure is actually really good. Obviously, you can see the improvements to the line. Definitely a great looking dinosaur. Obviously, he has your standard articulation that they have for the Hammond collection. I hope some of the information and facts that I was able to give about the dinosaur, his name, and his size dynamics in real life were welcomed knowledge for you guys, fans of the channel. Just posing them up a little bit here and playing around with them a little bit. Yeah, I definitely recommend them for the collection, especially if you are, most people who probably view the channel or into collecting Mattel figures are probably buying almost any type of figure that you like. But if you're specifically only collecting Hammond collection ones, he's definitely a welcome addition because he definitely looks nice and has a very nice realistic aspect to him. Definitely not oversized, and it's very nice that they're making dinosaurs that fall into a size frame that is one realistic to the size that they are actually depicted, but then two smaller size because not every dinosaur is super big. And it's funny because if you actually saw one of these in person, though he doesn't look big from our scale because we're so much bigger than these figures, you look at Roland here standing next to him, and I know you're not at a ground level view like I'm seeing, but generally speaking, um, this would be almost like bigger than say a bear. And they say these things can weigh up to like 1.1 tons. So generally speaking, just at the look of it, you can definitely see that he looks like he would be bigger and weigh more than say a grizzly bear that might be up to like, some grizzly bears go up to, if I'm not mistaken, 850 pounds to like 1,200 pounds, I think is on the higher end for a grizzly bear. They don't get as heavy as say like polar bear, but you could see how this guy would easily weigh about twice as much as one of those and how big he is. So I say that to say that next to somebody like Roland, I'll put Roland right close to him so you can see that height difference. These dinosaurs, though they might seem small from our perspective, are still huge if you were standing next to one of them. Just imagine one of these that its head was towering at least about, I'm going to do the measurement just for the sake of it because why not? We're here, we're in the video, why not? It looks like about where I got the top of its headpiece is about like 5.5 inches, like this part right here. So let's just do that math for the fun of it. And I'm going to tell you guys right now. 5. You're looking at 8.8 feet. So even though at the hip he's 7.2 feet, he right now the tip of his head is standing at 8.8 feet, um, which is way taller than Roland. Imagine that you came across a dinosaur that was like 8.8 feet tall and over 20 feet long and massive like that. It would still feel huge and would destroy you. So a little bit of food for thought. With that being said, you guys, as always, comment, like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.